Hello and welcome to another profitable time on television. It's going to be 30 minutes of delving into the investment world on capital markets live on Channels Television. I'm Ini John Mekwa. Well, we're starting off with market numbers now from the global equities market, where European stocks were high on Friday, closing out a 10th consecutive positive session as investors assess global economic indicators and rising COVID-19 cases. The German DAX was up 0.25%. The UK's FTSE 100 index edged up also 0.35%, while the French CAC gained 0.2%. Meanwhile, Adidas has sold Reebok for up to $2.5 billion to Authentic Brands as the German sports giant chooses to focus on its central band. Its shares added 2.3% on Friday. Let's move to Asia now. Major Asia-Pacific market closed mostly negative in Friday's trading session. Hong Kong's Hang Seng Index slipped by 0.48% as of its final hour of trading. Mainland Chinese stocks were also lower as Shanghai Composite dipped 0.24% to close at 3,516.30 points. In Japan, the Nikkei 225 closed 0.14% lower to finish the trading day. Well, in the United States, the S&P 500 and Dow Jones Industrial Average hit fresh all-time highs as both indexes capped off modest gains for the week. The Dow finished the day up 0.04% to close at a record of 35,515.38 points. The S&P 500 added 0.16% to hit a new closing record, while the Nasdaq Composite ticked up just 0.04% to 14,822.90 points. The blue chip Dow and the S&P 500 rounded out the week with muted gains of 0.8% and 0.7% each amid light summertime trading volumes, while the tech-heavy Nasdaq Composite underperformed this week. It was down just under 0.1%. And according to analysts, stocks are rising to records on the back of a stellar earnings season, and year-on-year earnings growth is expected to hit 92.9%. We head to Nigeria, where the bulls continue to dominate as the market recorded a second consecutive weekly gain. The market's benchmark index climbed 1.83% to close the week at 39,522.34, while the equities cap rose further above the 20 trillion naira mark. And this was largely due to gains recorded by Airtel Africa and Dangote Cement earlier in the week. The market sector performance was broadly positive, following gains in the banking, oil and gas, and consumer goods indexes. However, the insurance and industrial good indexes declined. Activity levels were stronger as trading volume and value grew by 66.4% and 55% each week on week. Honeywell Flour topped the gainers chart, while Julie PLC led the laggards. And this is in spite of its releasing its financial statement also in this past week. At the same time, the trio of Honeywell, flour mill, BOC gases, and flour mills were the major contributors to the total turnover volume and value of shares transactions, as they accounted for 724.06 million shares, or 3.9 billion naira, in 1,061 deals. Well, during the week, also, the Securities and Exchange Commission held its second Capital Market Committee meeting for this year. Issues bordering on implementation of the 10-year Capital Market Master Plan, the FinTech Roadmap, derivatives trading, and taxation, as well as other salient matters relating to the capital market and the economy were discussed at the meeting. The SEC also promised to clamp down on illegal capital market operators, especially operators of Ponzi schemes. Well, it was a very busy week for the Securities and Exchange Commission, because apart from the CMC, the SEC also began a collaboration with Risk Management Association to make more products available in the capital market. Well, we need to delve into this and get the details. So we have the head office of the chief economist at the Securities and Exchange Commission, Mr. Oke Omeano, and he joins us from our Abuja studio to give us details. Good evening, Mr. Omeano. Good to have you.
Thank you, Ini. Good to be here again.
Yes. So one major thing that has been making the rounds after your CMC meeting is you saying you're going to deal with illegal capital market operators, especially operators of Ponzi schemes. And we would have thought that Nigerians have learned a lot from the issue of Ponzi schemes So it's not much of a challenge at this time. But for you to be talking about it, how much of a challenge is this Ponzi scheme and illegal operators?
It's a big challenge. It's a massive one. We keep having these reports of new ones as soon as we close the ones we've closed. These people promise wonderful returns, and unfortunately, a lot of Nigerians, agree with them, I would say, or listen to what they have to say, the sweet story that always ends up in tears. The SEC is doing what it can. Our enforcement arm is working at it, and every day they are closing new ones. But as soon as they close one, two others spring up. So what we can do now is, while we do ours, we still advise Nigerians to, look out, before you give anyone your hard-earned money, find out, is this firm registered with the SEC? Is this firm really what they say they are? That way, you protect your hard-earned resources from getting fleeced away.
Yeah, I'd like for you to elaborate on what you think Nigerians can look out for so they don't fall victims. You talked about them being registered with SEC. Do they go to your website? So if I don't see them registered on your website, that means they are not a kind of company I should. I mean, what are some of the details that people should actually look out for?
Yeah. You're actually very correct, Ini. We have a list on our website of registered capital market operators. So all those are, under our radar. We have registered them. But that doesn't still stop, put an absolute stop to misbehavior in the market. So apart from looking out for the registered ones, another thing is to look out for operators that promise, wonderful returns. If it's too good to be true, then it probably is not true. We do not allow capital market operators to, promise returns. But when you see people promising 10% return every month or 20% return every month, then you should look out. You should know that something is amiss. So that's another way to know. And the SEC remains open and reachable. You cannot always just give us a call or, email in whatever way to, find out about these people before you, commit your resources to their schemes.
All right. So you also talked about that you started your regulatory incubator process. Can you give us the details to that?
Yeah, we're excited about that. We see that as the nursery for big things to happen in future. Presently, that incubator program or incubation program is supposed to encourage, startups who will later become the giants, who will become the giants tomorrow. What we have done is to make it easy for these startups to come in and get registered as capital market operators. We've seen quite a number of them, especially the fintech companies. I can tell you that we have registered 2 already, and a few others are going through the process. And what we basically do in the program is to handhold them, through the process. And this is also an opportunity to call on other people with ideas that border on capital market activity, whether it be with technology or it be with in the traditional way, to come. The SEC is ready to listen. We have created a FinTech and Innovation Office just to handle this, and we have also started this program just to make it easy. In fact, the SEC has bent over backwards, adjusting rules, making things available for these companies so that they can find it easy to access funding. One of the things we have done recently is the crowdfunding rules we released, and we are inviting the crowdfunding firms, crowdfunding platforms around the country to please come in and get registered so that we know what you're doing, and your investors also increase the trust they have in you. So at the end of the day, it's better for everyone.
And when you talk about the startups, and thank God you said some fintechs have already responded, we know that that space is very busy at this time, especially with the youngsters. But what do they need to have? What are the requirements to be a part of this incubation that you're doing?
All they need to do is contact us. On our website, we have a portal for that. All they need to do is get any of the email addresses there, any of the numbers, give us a call or send us an email, and we'll invite them. We'll look at, listen to them and know what they are doing, and direct them on how best to go about getting registered. Very easy to do, just on our website.
Okay, all right, that's good. And you also started conversations around having the National Insurance Commission de-risk and insure certain commodity assets. What's your targets in this?
Okay, the commodity space is a place we are really working on now. We believe that that's an area that ties into the thrust of the government. Presently, we have a lot of agricultural and mineral commodities that have no place, nowhere they are being sold right now, no organized market where they are being sold. So what we are trying to do is that we launched our commodities ecosystem development plan. And what we are trying to do is to make that space grow, just like what we have in the bond and equities, the traditional financial instrument areas. So now what we have done with, what we are doing with NICOM, I would say, we're engaging them to see how some of these commodities, can be insured, how they can be de-risked, how risk can be, shared and reduced, so that we can get in certain kinds of investors, investors like the pension funds and other big investors to come in into that part of the market. Exciting things are happening in our commodities market. Just at the CMC, there were very good reports about increase in trade, about greater participation, about new products coming out of that area. And what is happening in the commodities ecosystem ties into the derivatives market we are building. So, the derivatives market will help, the commodities market to grow. So overall, we are happy with what is happening, and we are engaging different kinds of stakeholders, of which NICOM is one, to help us in this march towards building a good commodities market in Nigeria.
So the issue of identity management, we just saw a report from you about unclaimed dividends, and you tied this to the issue of BVN, and we were thinking that it will make it easier when we have BVN and a streamlined identity management system. It should actually make it easier for people to claim their investments.
Yes, Ini. We have started using BVN and other ways to identify people, but we noticed a few things that we need to, sort out. So the SEC has set up a committee, a market-wide committee, to look into that identity management area, to, look at the different databases we have in the market, and sort of put them together so that it's a more robust database that will better lend itself to what we want to do. As you know, the unclaimed dividend problem we have, a large part of it is coming from the problems with identity management. Some years ago, about a decade ago, people bought certain stocks in the market, and there have been identity management issues, and there have been also issues around these people claiming these dividends. So we are looking at it. We are not saying we won't use BVN or any other way we can identify people. We are looking at the whole thing. We are not taking anything off the table, and that's why we have this committee. And the committee is, peopled by a very people that really understand what is going on, and people that would help us clear this. So we hope that in a few weeks, they will come up with solutions, that will help us take care of this matter once and for all.
All right, we'll just take a short break now, Ms. Omano, and we will plead with you to hold on, and then after the break, we'll continue this conversation. It's Capital Markets on Business on Channels Television. You're welcome back. It's still Capital Market on Channels Television, and we have from our Abuja studio the head office of the chief economist at the SEC, Mr. Okeomanu. Thank you so much for holding on and speaking with us this Saturday evening. And the Commission acknowledges the critical role that capital market can play in long-term financing of infrastructure. During the week, we had Stanbic IBTC bringing up its infrastructure fund. We'd like to know where that development is, where the capital markets play in developing infrastructure in the country. Where are we in that space?
Oh, thank you, Ini, for that question. We think that it's the capital market that will, fund infrastructure in Nigeria. We think it's the capital market that will bridge the huge infrastructure gap we have. And what we are doing now is to, create avenues to make this capital market work for Nigeria. We have made rules, we have put things in place such that such funds as the one you just mentioned can be created so that money can be raised that can be invested in, providing this critical infrastructure we need. People report about cost of doing business in Nigeria, about the difficulty generally in doing business in Nigeria. A lot of that difficulty comes from poor infrastructure, or I would say maybe unavailability of this infrastructure. If we could put these things in place, it will solve a lot of our problems. Things around the economy, around the revenues for government, around employment, around the social life of Nigerians. So we have created avenues for these funds to come up, and we have invited the capital market operators to create products that will support fundraising for infrastructure. We have also invited the subnationals, the states, to come in and raise revenue bonds. They can use to provide this infrastructure. Now, we can even see that the federal government has reinstated the toll gates. We believe that if the capital market is tapped for the funding to provide this infrastructure, the tolls can be used to, pay back these things, these funding, and the cycle continues. At the end of the day, we'll have infrastructure, that is befitting for our economy, that helps us to produce. So that's what we are aiming at in the capital market.
Nigerians would really hope that the issue of, tolls doesn't come up, even though the federal government has said that it will come up because they now have the policy that will guide the implementation of it. Aren't there other ways, apart from tolls, to recoup investment? Nigerians would really love to know that, I don't think it's in my place to say that. I think that a lot of intelligent people are looking at these issues. I know that in the Ministry of Finance and National Planning, Finance Budget and National Planning, a lot of people are looking at issues around this. And for a country to develop, you don't just get funds from one area alone. And I am sure that this is just one of the areas they have looked at. Nigeria is not the only country where you have tolls. If we can provide good infrastructure, I am sure that many Nigerians will not bother about the tolls they would pay. But that's not my area to answer. I think that there are more competent people in the Ministry of Finance and Budget and National Planning to answer that, and they are looking at it. Yeah, I hope so. Well, during the week also, you also got the AFDB grant, and you said it's to provide technical assistance and capacity building on selected areas of the Commission's operations. What's the details, and what group of investors will benefit from this? Okay.
The AFDB grant is supposed to strengthen risk-based supervision. Okay, so we have this scheme for supervising the capital market. Of course, we have to monitor the capital market. It's one of our mandates, We have to regulate it. We have to ensure investor protection. So in ensuring and we also have to maintain a fair market. So in doing this, we need to, monitor what the capital market operators do. And to do this, we have come up with this framework, the risk-based supervision framework, that makes us more efficient in doing that. And what the AFDB has done is to provide some funding to help us strengthen this framework and also to do some capacity building. You know, it's a new way of monitoring and supervising. So we need to build capacity both in the SEC and even in the market so that everybody understands what it's about. And we believe that at the end of the day, it will make for a better market, a stronger market, a more efficient market, a market that is fair to everyone, and a market that protects the investor. So that's what it's about. So in terms of who will benefit, everybody will benefit. The SEC will benefit, but the investor will even benefit more. Because, and even the capital market operators. But let me hone in on the benefits to the investors. Our job, our mandate is to protect them. If we are able to see what is going on in the market, and if we are able to ensure that market conduct remains the way it should, then the investors will benefit. And when investors benefit, it will attract more investors. And when it attracts more investors, it makes the market bigger. So at the end of the day, it's a win-win for everyone. So that's why we are working towards it. And we thank the AFDB for that grant. It will go a long way in helping us achieve what we want with RBS.
All right. Thank you so much for joining us. And we do wish you the best. It was a very busy week for SEC. Do we have any more activities lined up for the next week?
The SEC is a beehive of activity. There are things going on every day. I cannot list all of them. We have new ideas around products. We have the fintechs coming in. We have, we didn't even talk about the derivatives market. That's another area we're excited about. So we've already approved a few contracts. The CCPs are up. You know, new things are happening in our market. We are excited about the new moves in our market. Our market is getting deeper and better. So there's a lot to do, and I don't think we can exhaust all that in this short time.
Yes, obviously. But thank you so much for coming to share your Saturday.
Thank you, Ini.
Giving us details about your activities over the week and giving us some plans of the SEC. We do wish you a very pleasant weekend. The rest of it, Mr. Kilmanu, the head Office of the Chief Economist
at
the Securities and Exchange Commission, joined us for the program. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
So just before we go, the FMDQ exchange has approved the listing of Dangote Cement Series 1 bond on its platform. This follows the recent successful listing of the industrial giant's 100 billion naira commercial paper, which allows it to raise funds through the issuance of medium to long-term debt instruments. Meanwhile, Dangote Cement says its proceeds of the Series 1 bonds will be used to fund expansion projects and refinance its working capital expenditure as well as its short-term debts. Dangote Cement listed 3 tranches of 50 billion naira bonds on the Nigerian Exchange Limited under its 300 billion naira debt issuance program. And Flour Mills of Nigeria PLC has announced the payment of 6.8 billion naira as final dividend to its shareholders for the period ended March the 1st. According to the notice sent to the NGX, the Consumer Goods Company is expected to pay a final dividend of 1.65 naira per share on the outstanding 4.1 billion ordinary shares of the company. In July, the Flour Processing Company had announced a 12% increase in profit before tax in its first quarter 2021 financial earnings from 7.3 billion naira to 6.5 billion naira reported in the first quarter of last year. According to the company, its group profit after tax stood at 5.4 billion naira in first quarter of 2021, representing a 10% increase when compared to 5 billion naira recorded in the corresponding period last year. Also, the group's revenue grew by 51% to 233.7 billion naira compared to 154.5 billion naira in the first quarter of last year. And finally, listed pharma company Julie PLC posted a dismal performance in its first quarter 2020 earnings results. According to the financial statement sent to the NGX, the company's revenue declined from 92.7 million naira in the first quarter of 2019 to 91.44 million naira in the same period last year. At the same time, the company's pre-tax profit dipped to 15.19 million naira in 2020 from 18.17 million naira recorded in 2019. Well, that's all we can take on the program today. Thank you so much for watching Capital Markets on Channels Television. I'm Ini John Mekwa.